She said the intruder asked to speak with the husband, then demanded her purse and money, and the victim refused to give the intruder the money and was attacked by the intruder with the wooden stick. Did that happen?
No, ma'am.
Well, we are about to watch the parole revocation hearing that took place on July 18, 2024. But before we do, we're going to take a blast to the past to 2023 when he had his first parole revocation hearing. Now, Louisiana at the time was using a potato and dial-up for these recordings, a potato for a microphone and dial-up for their internet or something. It was bad. It was really bad. It was over 25 minutes long that I had to cut down to 7 minutes. It's still kind of choppy, and if you're just not in the mood for it, fast forward to the 7-minute mark to start the second hearing. But it was interesting and nice to see Mr. O'Shea and the old crew with Miss Wise.
I've been assigned your case, so give me your statement on violating to absconding to the state of Mississippi, and you were arrested 4 months later in Mississippi.
Yes, sir. I was released from prison over here at Madison Parish, June 1st of 2022. If I did my interstate compact the same day. I went to Hattiesburg and reported to Hattiesburg, Forest County, Mississippi, and my interstate compact, it was accepted from my parole officer over there. So I reported every month for like 4 months. I think it was up to like October or September or something. My parole officer.
Okay, so at this stage, you are paroled in 2 states, Louisiana and Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Johnson,
Yes, sir.
if you were released today, that's an if, where would you stay?
I would stay right here in Madison Parish until I can get my interstate compact. I mean, I got to figure it out. I mean, I got a place to stay in Madison Parish, Tallulah, but I need to figure it out so I can get back on the house.
Indication in the record that your aunt put you out because she caught you using drugs. What do you say to that?
No, see, she ain't telling the whole story. Me, my twin, his girl, my girl, there's a bunch of people staying there. And she found a syringe in my brother's room. So she run everybody off. You know.
Okay.
You could just pinpoint that on me, you know. There's numerous people staying here, even including her daughter.
So were you using drugs?
No, ma'am, I wasn't.
Okay. What was your charge in Mississippi you were on parole for? Or were you on probation or parole in Mississippi? Which one?
I was on parole in Mississippi.
What was that for?
Taking away a motor vehicle.
Okay. Same kind of charge that you got here. Okay. So how did you end up in Madison? How did you end up here?
Me and my girlfriend was passing through on I-20 coming through, and we broke down and I took somebody's car.
Oh, okay. Y'all broke down, then you stole the vehicle. That's how you end up in jail here. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you still have a relationship with that girlfriend?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Johnson, would you like to make a closing statement?
Just, yes, sir. I mean, please give me a chance to honor my parole. I promise I'll do it, you know. Just please give me a chance. I promise I'll do it. I won't let y'all down. I'll report like I'm supposed to. I'll stay clean. I'll do everything I'm supposed to.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson,
Thank you.
I lean towards not revoking your supervision because I think you had a misunderstanding and you didn't understand the concurrent sentence, even though it was concurrent, those sentences ran at different periods of time. And your Mississippi sentence ended sooner than your Louisiana, and you thought you were off supervision in both states.
Yes, sir.
I think it's an honest error, but I want to get probation and parole to revisit into Louisiana. And then once they approve that address again, under my recommendation, you will be released with the stipulation that you abide by all rules and guidelines of your parole supervision.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Why?
Mr. Johnson, I see your situation differently. You have zero income, you're stealing cars because you don't have any income. Young man, I don't see a lot of work experience, just looking at you, I don't see a lot of work experience in you. So my vote is, in lieu of revocation, do 6 months in the transitional work program. And by that, you have ample time then to get some money and get your life straight and kind of get out on some more footing. Because I don't see a lot of family support in your situation. But that's just my vote.
Okay. You have received 2 votes to do not revoke, 1 vote in lieu of revocation, complete a 6 months transition work program. The decision of the challenge today is to do not revoke based on an approved residency plan into Louisiana. You have a good day.
Thank y'all so much.
What's this guy's name? Cody Johnson?
We got the wrong stuff.
We got the wrong stuff, yeah, I was like, they on parole.
They think some people have to go pay.
Wow.
That's it. They got a real ready to roll? No, I'm saying, then we go look at it.
Okay, so I'm not exactly sure what happened at the end there. Now, remember, I cut a 25-minute hearing down to 7 minutes because of all of the, gosh, I mean, they were using a potato and a dial-up modem back in the day, this day or whatever, plus Roche's cadence. I had to cut it that short. I think Miss Wise was the wise one in this case. She said, I'd rather him be in work release. And gosh, I think that would have been the brilliant approach. And it's a tool in their toolbox that I wish I've seen them use more often, the work release thing. I mean, the idea of getting those work habits, getting that confidence, proving you can do it and putting money in your pocket, it makes a lot of sense. But Mr. Roche and Mr. Pete Freeman were not for that. And they simply didn't revoke, and I think it was on certain conditions that he had to get the state compact back to his home state. Isn't it interesting? It seems that he's traveling from his home state through Louisiana. That's when he stole the car, and now he's stuck in Louisiana, and but we're gonna fast forward to July of 2024, July 18th. 2024. Apparently, he's been revoked. Let's hear his story, his reason why he couldn't make it back to his home state.
My name's Cody Daniel Johnson. My LDOC number is 763845.
Yes, let me introduce the parole panel to you. My name is Cheryl Renatza. Mr. Danny Byra is seated to my left, and Mrs. Carolyn Stapleton is seated to my right. We're
How
here
y'all
for
doing?
good. Thanks for asking us. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Thank
We're
you for
here
asking.
We're here for a revocation decision. And do you have any paperwork there with you?
Yes, ma'am, I have this.
Yeah, that's the parole revocation questionnaire. And Mr. Johnson, is that your signature at the bottom of that page?
Yes, ma'am.
Based on the information contained on that form, it was determined at your preliminary hearing, you're not eligible for an appointed lawyer. So are you ready to proceed today?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to read the allegations against you, after which you should enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Barra because he'll have some questions for you. Your case has been assigned to him.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Johnson, you're accused of violating the conditions of your parole. Specifically, condition number 2, you have not reported to your parole officer since June 2nd, 2023. How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty. I was reporting to my parole officer in
You
Mississippi.
can explain that to Mr. Barra in just a moment. Let's get
Okay,
to
I'm sorry.
allegations and you can, I'm going to put not guilty with a statement. Is that okay?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
you-
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Number 3, additionally, you left the state of Louisiana without permission of your parole officer as evident of your arrest January 23rd, 2024, in Forest County, Mississippi. So how do you plead to violating number 3?
Not guilty.
Right? Number 4 says, on or about December 3rd, 2024, you were arrested by Forest County Sheriff's Office for committing the offense aggravated assault, use of deadly weapon. It is noted you were never indicted on those charges. How do you plead to violating condition number 4?
Not guilty. Charges was dropped.
And then we have condition number 5. You were in possession of a dangerous weapon when you committed the offense of aggravated assault, use of a deadly weapon. How do you plead to violating number 5?
Not guilty.
Number 9, the parole office was unable to visit you at your home or elsewhere because you failed to provide your correct address. How do you plead to violating number 9?
Not guilty.
And last is condition number 10. You have supervision fee arrearages in the amount of, looks like $664. No payments have been made. How do you plead to violating number 10?
I'm guilty on that.
Okay. Would you answer Mr. Barra's question?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, on number 2, submit your monthly report by the 5th of every month until you complete your supervision. What you gotta say about that one? Said not guilty.
I reported the day they let me go. I reported to Mr. Chris. He's the parole officer in Madison Parish. And I'm on parole in Mississippi too, and he knows that. So he started my interstate compact, and I had to report to Mississippi because I'm on parole over there within 72 hours. And my parole officer over there, I reported for 3 or 4 months, and she was like, when I finally got my golden seal, I got off parole over there. See, my Louisiana sentence was running concurrent with my Mississippi sentence. So I was just doing 1 sentence. And when my parole officer told me I was through over there, I just quit report. She told me I was done. I got my golden seal.
But you never had your case transferred from Louisiana to Mississippi, that's the problem?
She was waiting on an email from Mr. Chris, which is the parole officer in Madison Parish. He started the day that I went and reported him, I think it was June 3rd that I reported him, 2023. He started my interstate compact that same day. And my parole officer in Mississippi told me she was just waiting on an email from him for them to receive me over there in Mississippi.
You did all the interstate compact with Louisiana,
Yes, sir.
Mississippi?
Yes, sir.
So you went back home to Mississippi and you was also on supervision over there.
Yes, sir.
You reported over there and you finished that successfully in Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
Never did get your Louisiana case transferred to Mississippi, and that's what the problem is right now.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I don't even think I'm supposed to be on parole. I thought I was done with it, because my sentence was run CC concurrent with my Mississippi sentence.
Yeah, well, there's a little problem with not getting your case transferred. So. All right, how about number 3? That you stay at the address listed on your certificate until you have permission to move. It says, Mr. Johnson able to reach him at the reported residence. What's the problem with that one?
That address that I turned in for him, when I went over there to check the place out to see what room I was gonna stay in and all this, it's some people that I met while I was being incarcerated from over here in Tallulah. And they was willing to let me use their address to come stay there until I got up on my feet and everything. So I gave them that address. When I went over there to see what was going on, when I got out of jail and went over there to the house, everybody was using drugs. So it was like me just falling right back, you know, in the same spot I was in the beginning. So I just went back home, you know.
So did you go back and tell your parole officer that you couldn't stay there and you needed to go?
Yes, sir.
So he give you permission to leave with a travel permit, or you
He gave me a travel permit.
had
A
a travel
30 day,
permit to leave?
sir.
When you left, when you didn't go to the address that was listed because of the roommates using drugs,
Right.
what did you do then?
I just went back home to Hattiesburg.
You just went back.
Yes, sir.
So you did not get a travel permit after you realized that residence was unacceptable, but you didn't go back.
I got the travel permit before I even went to the house because he knew I had to go back to Mississippi.
That's not making sense to me, right? You know, you would, if
I,
you were
I
waiting
got
for you.
I got a Tallulah address in order for me.
Wouldn't have got a travel permit to go to Mississippi if you were paroling to Tallulah address.
Right. I was on parole in Tallulah and Mississippi, in
Right.
Louisiana and Mississippi. See, I paroled
Yeah.
out of Mississippi to a new charge in Louisiana.
So you were supposed to go to the Louisiana address and wait
Right.
there till your Mississippi address was approved. But you
I
couldn't
didn't do
stay because of the drug activity. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, sir.
And then when you realized that about the drug activity, you went to the address in Mississippi because you knew that one was gonna be a better place for you to live.
Yes, sir. That's my
But-
natural home.
But the problem came in when you left Louisiana address and didn't go where you were supposed to and went to Mississippi without that permission to leave Louisiana. And that's where you and the probation officer get off.
Mixed up.
Right, okay. I understand what happened there. All right, number 4,
Since then, though, I do got a good address for Louisiana, a phone number and a good address for Louisiana, though.
right now,
Yes, sir.
not the same one?
Not the same one, no, sir.
On number 4, what happened over there in Hattiesburg?
I got jumped on by 2 guys. They tried to kill me with a hammer. When I was in the hospital, the police come and locked me up saying I aggravated assaulted the guy, and that's where the new charge come into play. But at my preliminary, I went to my preliminary hearing in Forest County for the charge. There wasn't enough evidence for them to bound me over to the grand jury, so they dismissed my charges.
Talking about 2 guys, but there's a female involved in it too, huh?
Yeah, it was 2 guys and a female, yes, sir.
They had given you money before?
Yes,
They
sir.
had out before? And then
Yes, sir.
and something went wrong? What went wrong?
I was short on the money and I had woke him up out of his sleep, and he done told me before, he done jumped on me 2 times before this and was like, don't ever come back to my house unless you got all the money, And he just put his hands on me again and just escalated real bad.
And they ended up dropping that charge?
Yes, sir.
What you had as a weapon over there on that day?
It's like a cane. I walk around. It's for the dogs in the neighborhood is what it's for, to keep the stray dogs off of me, but it's like a cane. A walking stick, or however you say it or whatever. But mainly it's like a cane. About 4 foot long or so, real skinny like.
And what did you do with the cane that day?
The Hattiesburg, what I do with it?
Well, I just use it for like the dog, like I was saying, the dog's neighborhood. But HPD, Hattiesburg Police Department, has got the stick in their custody or whatever.
Number nine. Number nine says that you agree to visits at your residence or place of employment by your parole officer at any time. Also agree to searches of your personal property, residence, vehicle when reasonable suspicion exists of criminal activity. The officer said he was unable to visit you at home or elsewhere because you failed to provide the correct address. Williams testified that the officer was unable to locate Johnson at the reported residence because you had obviously left and gone to Mississippi. Johnson claimed attempted address, but was unable to make contact with him. Johnson said that he came to Tallulah District and submitted a transfer out of state, but was not able to visit with his officer. So if you requested a permit out of state, a transfer, but not from your officer, how did that go?
There's two different times that I tried my interstate compact. When I got out June 1st of 22, they did my interstate compact. I went to Mississippi to get received. Something or another happened there and I didn't get received or whatever. So they tried again in 23, this time that we're talking about now. When they let me out and I went down there to see the Mr. Chris, which is a parole officer, he did my interstate compact. So I don't understand.
Well, at the preliminary hearing, what I'm looking at is a summary of the preliminary hearing you had before you came to see us. And it says that Johnson claimed, which means you said that you attempted to provide your officer with the valid address, but was unable to make contact with him. So you couldn't find your officer. We already said that. Johnson said he came to Tallulah District to submit a transfer for out of state, but was not able to visit with his officer. So you went to Tallulah District, you talked to nobody down there?
Yeah, I talked to Mr. Chris. He did my interstate compact. He was supposed to be my parole officer.
Getting me confused because in the preliminary hearing, you're saying that you went down there, but you weren't able to talk to him.
I don't know why that is. I did talk to Mr. Chris.
Well, right now you're saying something different than what you said back at the hearing, so you really got me confused on that one. Did you?
I probably misunderstood the question or something, but I talked to Mr. Chris. He did my interstate compact right here in Madison Parish.
All right. And then number 10, pay the supervision fees, no payments made. Huh? What you pled guilty to that was so irrelevant. All right. That's all the questions I had for you.
Thank you.
Oh, no, I have none. So, when you say Mr. Chris did your interstate compact, did you pay the fee?
No, ma'am, I didn't pay no fee.
So what do you think happened to that interstate compact application?
All Miss Barbara kept telling me in Hattiesburg was that she was waiting on an email from them.
Right, well, you gotta pay the application fee.
Right. Well, my understanding was I could pay it in Hattiesburg before I got off my parole sentence.
Not Louisiana.
No.
No.
And let me go back to the criminal activity. I'm still confused. I'm getting confused by your answers to Mr. Barra's question. Let me read what the report says. And so you were also, when you were arrested, it was also, I think, a home invasion charge, but it says an intruder snatched open the lady's screen door and walked inside her house and into her bedroom while she was laying in the bed. She said the intruder asked to speak with the husband, then demanded her purse and money, and the victim refused to give the intruder the money and was attacked by the intruder with the wooden stick. Did that happen?
No, ma'am.
Well, you're not real clear on what did happen.
I was going there to buy drugs. I was $4 short. They wanted to jump on me and run me away from their house. So I grabbed his dope man and left his house. That's what happened.
Then they attacked you.
And they attacked me. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's exactly what happened.
I get it. That's okay. All right, I don't have any other questions. Mr. Barrow, you want to vote?
I'd like to have executive session.
We have a motion for executive session. Could you call the roll, please?
Sheriff Ronaldo,
Yes.
Danny Barrow,
Yeah,
Carolyn Fick.
Yes. All right, Mr. Johnson, we're going to be in executive session for a couple of minutes to discuss confidential matters. We'll be right back. Stand by.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, we are back in regular session. It's 10:55. We'll be voting. Mr. Barrow will be voting first.
Mr. Johnson, there's a whole lot of holes in the story and things that just don't make sense, and I'm gonna have to vote to revoke your probation today based on the criminal behavior, the failing to report, and everything listed in the violation report.
Mrs. Baker.
I concur with Mr. Barrow.
Mr. Johnson, I also agree. I find that you did violate the conditions of your parole supervision. So my vote today is to revoke your parole. Good luck to you. That concludes our business in Tallulah. It's 10:56.
Man, so they revoked, and I don't know if you picked up on it. I almost missed it, and I was listening a second time, and it clicked. Remember how Mr. O'Shea said, I'm not going to revoke because I think that you didn't realize that your sentences in Mississippi and Louisiana weren't running concurrently. So you thought that your parole, the timeline. So you thought when your parole was up in Mississippi that it was also up in Louisiana. And he said, but it's not. That's not the case. And this is why you're not going to get revoked. And he tried to use the same excuse at his next parole hearing. He said, I thought that they were running the same. I thought that I didn't have parole. So boom, busted, and a lie, in my opinion. That's the way I understand it all. And then he has the interesting story, which is it seems, also from the first parole, it wasn't my dope, it was my twin brothers. My God, they thought it was all of ours, but here he is stealing it from his dealers, and the dealers call the cops. That part of the story I might have believed. It seemed to be like a home invasion accusation thing, but I don't know. It seems more like he probably grabbed it and ran, like he said, and sometimes the truth benefits you, even if it makes you look bad. They revoked. He's now, I guess to his credit, he did stay out of getting this revocation hearing from May 2023 to I'm not sure exactly when he was locked up, but it was, he might have been a year staying out of trouble. I don't know how much time he's backing. I don't have any other information on this, but I do thank Richard for matching up the cases. When a revocation hearing comes in, because of his organization skills and spreadsheet ninja skills, he is able to automatically map it up, point to the exact hearing, record it, go through it, and then package it out. And if you like these type of hearings where we connect the dots, then I would ask that you check out the playlist that says return of. It's the return of playlist. And maybe I should come up with a different name for it. Let me know if you think I should. Right now it's just called the return of. And that's where we list the parole hearings when they come back for a second time. It might be for a revocation hearing. It might be well, I guess for a second parole or third parole hearing or a hearing after a commutation hearing. And with that, I'll let you go.
Seated to my right. Are you having trouble hearing me?
It's not that, it's not you, it's just what's going on around
Lot
here.
of noise around you? Lot of noise around you?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me move, ma'am.
That better?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good. All right. So I made the introductions. We're here for a revocation decision this morning. Do you have any paperwork with you?
Do I have any paperwork with me?
Better. That's much better. I'm going to read the allegations, after which you'll enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Then Mrs. Stapleton will be asking you some questions. Your case has been assigned to her. So you are accused of violating the conditions of your parole, specifically condition number 2, which states you failed to report to your parole officer since September 29, 2022. How do you plead to violating condition number 2?
Not guilty.
And then we have condition number 3. You moved from the address of record without notifying your parole officer. You left the state of Louisiana without written permission, as evidenced by the arrest in Midland, Texas on or about April 22nd, 2020. How do you plead to violating condition number 3?
Not guilty.
Okay, thank you. Would you answer Mrs. Stapleton, please?
Okay, sir. The first one, you failed to report since 9/29/22. And I have here where you said that you pled not guilty with a statement. My first agent, Kelly Hardy, told me the parole board is not allowed to restrict my movement. She told me I can go out and live my life. Then Agent Kelly Hardy retired 4 months later, and I started reporting to Agent Corey Hastings. He allowed me to report every 9 months to 1 year. I reported to Corey Hastings on March of 2023. Now, on the contract that you signed, it says, I will submit a monthly report by the 5th of every month until I complete my supervision. I will report to my parole officer when ordered to do so. Does that sound like a conflict? Can you explain it?
Yes, ma'am. At the beginning, whenever I first was put on parole 8 years ago, we did a month-to-month basis. And then started working in Midland, Texas. And as I was working in Midland, Texas, I formed my own and built my own business from the ground. I have my own LLC. And as I started building that business from 0 employees to 14 employees, I became, much more involved and, real busy. So as it went on, Corey, he gave me the latitude to where, I was no threat to society. I wasn't hurting anyone. I was just working. So we went from 1 month to 6 months. And after, for about a year, we did 6 months at a time. He'd call me, say, catch your fees up and come visit me. And I would go ahead and I'd catch my fees up, and then I'd either fly or drive over. It's a 10.5-hour drive. So most of the time I'd fly, but sometimes I would drive. But anyway, I did this for, let's say, another year and a half. And then he got to where we would do it every year. He would call me, get your fees up, come see me, and I would do it. I did that for 6 solid years, working in Midland, Texas, for 6 solid years. In between Mentone, Texas, and Midland, Texas is where I worked. That's 45 minutes apart from each other. That's where I worked at since 2017. I have worked from Midland, Texas to Mentone. That's the only sole place I worked, where I started my company, where I built my company. And that's where I've been working. And so after about 18, 17 or 8, probably 18 is when I went to 1 year, when I would just go see Corey Hastings once a year. So then my next time to go see him was, I went see him well, I take that back. Let me back up a little bit. I get a phone call from Corey Hastings, and Corey Hastings says, they're moving me. They're gonna move me to supervisor level. I have a new guy that's gonna be your parole officer. So the new parole officer calls me up and says, I talked to your old parole officer. I know where you're at. You're in Midland. He says, I need you to come see me. I said, okay, I'm gonna come see you. So I explained to him that it's really expensive to.
That Mr. Renard, your new parole officer, was that gonna be, Agent Renard?
Yes, ma'am. That's gonna be the new one. So,
Okay.
so I get on the phone talking to him, and I tell him, I said, I just went to see Corey, probably 2 weeks prior. I said, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go back. I'll come and see you again too. So I have my own business. So first thing I gotta do is it takes a week's planning to shut my business down so I can leave. I don't have anybody hired to take my responsibilities yet. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to form a company. And so anyway, I flew down here. And when I flew down here, the Renault guy when I walked to the parole department, the place, he wasn't even there. He was in a class.
What date was that?
Ma'am, I have no access to dates. Everything I own is in my truck. My truck is in.
Okay, I got you. I can understand that.
So anyway, I flew down here, and when I flew down, I went into the office, and when I went into the office, he was in a class. He was new, learning to, it was a new job, so he was in a class that y'all sent him to, apparently somebody. But anyway, besides the point, so Corey pulls me to the side and says, I'm here. He says, I'll log you in, and you just see me. He says, and the next time you'll see him. I said, okay, fine. So then once I finished that, I talked to Corey, and Corey says, you're going back to Midland. I said, yes, sir. That's what I have to go back to my job. I have to go back and, because I have 14 employees. I have to get up in the morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. And as soon as I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I have to go and make sure at 5 o'clock that everybody crew changes. That's my job, to make sure that they all crew change themselves. And then after that, I hang around, and then I go talk to the all company people in between about 8 and 10 to make sure everybody's doing their jobs and nobody's, just not messing up. And then after that, I'll go home from noon to 4 o'clock. I'll take me a nap, and then I get up at 4, and I have to go back and do it all over again. I got 7 more people fixing to swap out. And, they work 12-hour shifts. I have to do that. So I've been, I'm stretching myself thin for the last 3 or 4 years, starting this company up. But anyway, I did come like he asked me. And then my next time would have been to come to see him, on the basis the way I was doing it with Corey.
Now, what would that date be in your mind? In your mind, when was you told the next time would be?
Okay, so the next time should have been around March of 24.
Okay, all right,
And
so let's
I was
just
on
stop.
my way over.
Okay, hang on 1 second, okay? All right, let's just go right here.
Yes, ma'am.
We've got a lot of dates in here, and you don't have any in front of you. I understand that, okay? Agent Andre Renard, I hope I'm saying his name right, provided evidence from his narratives, okay? Mr. Stephen Roy's last office visit was conducted by Agent Corey Hastings on September 29, 2022. The narrative indicated Mr. Stephen Roy stated he will be remaining home in Louisiana until December or January. Agent Corey Hastings told Mr. Stephen Roy he would have to speak to Agent Andre Renard about a travel permit when he gets closer to that date. Agent Corey Hastings also advised the subject he will not be able to just stay in Texas for months at a time like he did last time. Mr. Stephen Roy claimed he will report monthly. while he is in Louisiana and asked when he could report to Agent Andre Renard at the Lafayette District Office. Agent Corey Hastings told the subject to report next Wednesday, October the 5th, 2022, at the Lafayette office. He failed to report as directed, so you didn't come in that day. That's what they have, October the
Yes, ma'am.
The last time they had that they saw you was September the 29th, 2022. And you were supposed to come in the next Wednesday and you didn't.
And I came in the next Wednesday and neither one were there. They were supposed to, I went to the Lafayette office and they told me that they were in Vermilion Parish.
Okay, so how do you explain the more than a year in between? So as of 2022, the
Because,
next thing got you get arrested in 2024.
Because I've always, when I had Corey as my parole officer, like I said, I stretched myself thin because I have so much going on with this new company I'm building.
Yeah, but he said that old arrangement, let's just say that's what it was not gonna be the new arrangement with you and Mr. Agent Renard. So that was something you was gonna have to work out there.
I understand that. And so the way I was operating is Corey would call me when he wanted me to come see him. And when Corey would call me, I would come see him. So basically what I was doing is I was working and waiting for somebody to call me and tell me that it was time for me to come back and visit.
Okay, well, but you were already told that you were not going to be able to do it as you did before. You were not going to be able to stay in Texas for months at a time like you did with the last agent. So your responsibility, yours, was to contact your probation officer. That was on you. Flying back home, driving back home, and you stayed in Texas. Am I right there?
Yes, ma'am, you are right.
Okay.
Yes.
And so
Ma'am, I understand since I've been in here, this 90 days, I went back and I looked at everything and I've read everything. And I realized that when I had Kelly Hardy and when I had Corey, I had the cream of the crop. I had two great parole officers. So I relied on them because they helped me so much. They were very
well, and y'all
great
probably
people.
had this relationship going back and forth, but you got a new agent.
Yes.
So for the new agent, the responsibility, and it was said, it was put on you.
Yes,
So,
ma'am. Yes,
I mean, you
ma'am.
were starting fresh, so you had to do what you were supposed to do there.
Yes,
So
ma'am. And
would
I
you
do-
plead
and I
guilty to
find- and I
that you, do you plead guilty or not guilty still for that one?
I'll plead guilty to it because I know that I did, I understand that my first
You're on the
7
same
years,
page.
my first 7 years was great because I had the right, the people that
Right.
helped me. And then all of a sudden,
And so y'all had a relationship. You and Corey had built a relationship. He
ma'am.
knew he could trust you
Yes,
and
ma'am.
everything was fine. And
Yes.
so, and it probably would have been with the next guy too, but you had to start off with it.
Exactly.
And so, all right, so that's what happened there. Okay, and then number 3, I will live at the address on this certificate. If I move from this address, I will get permission from my parole officer before doing so. So that's where we went to. I will not leave the state of Louisiana without written permission. So that's where they didn't see you August the 5th, 2022, didn't hear from you again. And then you get arrested in Midland, Texas on 4/22/24.
Mhm.
You were working there,
Mhm.
but then you had to be extradited and brought back to Lafayette at a cost of $3,000, $3,940. So that's where we are today.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you? They got in touch with you by way of your mother in Abbeville, Louisiana.
Yeah, that's mom.
Okay, so they were able to get in touch with your mom. Your mom says he lives in Texas. He employs several people in Texas. And so then Mr. Agent Renard provided evidence of the extradition. He advised that he was traveling to state of Texas without written travel permit and later was extradited from Midland County Jail, Texas to Lafayette. parish jail at a cost of $3,940. That's basically where we're at. We got the two things. It's any one of them deniable.
You talking about, okay,
Number two, that you didn't report in. And number three, that you were living out of state, you got arrested, and so you weren't at the address that he had listed for you.
right, no, my mom's address is my address.
Okay, well, you weren't there. They
Well,
weren't
no,
able
I
to
was
find.
working. Yes, ma'am, I was working.
All right, so there we are. Both of them's true. I mean, what the agent is saying, both of them's true, right? That you were not at that address. They
Well-
couldn't get 2022. And when they did get you, you were in Texas and you'd gotten arrested. And your
Yeah.
mother was,
No,
So-
I didn't get arrested in Texas. I got arrested in Texas because he had a warrant for me. I didn't get arrested for anything.
okay, well, okay, so he put out a warrant for you. So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
were found in Texas by way of contacting your mother at the address you had listed.
Because she knew I was at work.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am.
So you weren't living at the address that you put down as the home that you were living at.
When I have time for myself to be away from work, my mom's address is where I live at. I have a RV spot at my mom's where I put my RV at.
That's the address.
That is my sole
Last time,
address.
okay, but the last time they heard from you was 2022. And so we had to put out a warrant.
Mhm.
So how do you plead now? Is that, you moved from the address of record without notifying the supervising agent. You left the state of Louisiana without written permission from your parole officer as your arrest in Midland, Texas on 4/22/24.
Yes, well, I mean, if you look at it the way it's all, yes, I'll just plead guilty, yes.
I understand. Well,
But you've already pled, so
all
on
right, so
record.
I'm going to pass it to my,
Mr. Parole.
Did you have a travel permit from your officer to be in Texas all that time?
When I would go and see Corey would print me one out about 60% of the time, depending on how busy he was. But yes, if you wanted one, I have one. It's in the glove box of my truck.
You had one?
Man, sir?
Travel permits are good for 30 days. When they
Okay,
issue.
so I wouldn't have had one. I wouldn't have had one at that time that I got arrested.
So
I
that's
had
part of
one, but it would have been out of date.
that's part of what you're not understanding. To be in Texas for that long for work, you need to have a written travel permit that says from January 1st to January 31st, you have permission to be there. And then the next month, you need to go back and you need to get a travel permit that says from February 1st to February 28th. While you're in Texas on a work like that, you need to have what she's talking about, written permission. Written permission is that travel permit. And obviously, you didn't have it, but maybe you didn't know about it, but neither here nor there. Just to straighten that out.
Yes,
You
sir.
need to have a travel permit when you're in Texas.
Okay, yes, sir.
In Texas, where did you live? Where did you stay when you were working?
I have an RV.
In Texas?
Yeah, that's where it's at right now. Yes, sir.
In Texas,
Yes, sir.
on your job site.
Yeah, I bring it with me everywhere I go. Yes, sir.
You could apply to have your case transferred to Texas if you give them the information of where your RV is parked in Texas and the address. They can send a Texas parole officer out there, verify the spot where your thing is, and then you wouldn't have to be coming back to Louisiana.
And sir, somebody in here has told me this, and when I went to prison for the DUI, I went to prison. I spent 5 years in prison as a first offender. And then when I got out on parole, it's my first time I've ever been on parole. So I didn't know all these things, but I know them now. And yes, if I do, you let me go back to work, I will get it transferred to Texas.
So you understand now, anytime you're in Texas, living in Louisiana, you need a travel permit.
Yes,
If you
sir.
don't have it, you're in violation.
Yes, sir. I understand full.
If you want to move to Texas and not have to come back over here every 30 days, you need to fill out an application for compact and get Texas to accept your case, and then you report to the office right there in Midland. And you don't, and what you'd have to do then is ask Midland for a travel permit to come back and visit at your mama's house when you want to come.
Right, exactly. And sir, I would have done that if I'd have known. I didn't know that. I know it now though.
So we got you straight on that. All right.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you.
And it's your responsibility to get in contact with the parole officer monthly. That's what it says on the parole certificate.
Yes, sir.
So whether he at training or he didn't answer your call, just you making an attempt or making a call doesn't fulfill that obligation to talk to your parole officer and fill out a report.
Yes, sir. And I fully understand that. I take responsibility for it because like I said in the beginning, I had two good ones and, you know, I guess you could say I was spoiled, you know, with the first two I had. But now I know, take care of my own business.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right, I don't have any questions. I think, I can see that you had some misunderstanding. Are you ready to vote?
Yes, sir. My vote today is that I'm not gonna revoke you because
Okay.
it was a misunderstanding and I know you're gonna take care of your business.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, I swear, I mean, I've only, since I've got out of prison at my age, I've been trying to play catch up for my retirement. And that's what I'm doing. I'm working my butt off.
All right, we got a vote. Barbara?
I'm gonna vote to reinstate your parole also, but we're gonna have to add a special condition that says you pay the $3,940 that it cost Louisiana to bring you back for this violation.
No problem. Done.
So that's gonna be added as a condition. The way it's gonna work is when you meet your parole officer, they're gonna figure out a payment schedule for you, and you can pay it by the month or in lump sum, however you wanna do it. But that's gonna be a condition, so make sure you get in your mind, you need to take care of that. And also, I think you're educated enough now to not be in the same trouble again.
I promise you it'll never happen. As far as for the money you talking about, the cost, I'm the one that occurred it. I pay my bills. I got.
All right, Mr. Roy, I do agree with my colleagues. My vote today also is do not revoke, return to supervision. Now, when they release you, you gotta meet with your parole officer and you gotta get the permit before you go back to work.
Man, you let me out these doors, I'm gonna go find him and bring him to lunch.
All right.
If the officer's not there, ask to speak to the supervisor, his supervisor. Talk to somebody.
Sir,
Don't leave.
yes, sir. I've learned so much. I promise you, the next time I go anywhere to a parole building, I'm gonna sit there until I talk to somebody.
Understand whatever they tell you.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure,
Yes.
there's no confusion. If you got questions, ask. All
Yes,
right, well,
okay,
Mr.
right.
Roy, we're gonna not revoke you today. Good luck to you, sir.
Okay, let me ask you this, ma'am. I don't know just like I say, it's all new
Yeah,
to me.
we're gonna send over some paperwork to the jail, giving them the authority to release you. And when they do, that's when you go see go to the parole office.
Okay, so does anybody have a figure on about how long it takes for that paperwork to get here?
Nope, day or
A
two,
couple of days.
day or two.
Okay. All
Thank-
right. Thank y'all so much.
All right,
And I
good luck.
promise you'll never see me again.
That's great, unless we're in Midland.
Unless you're in Midland and y'all call me, I'll bring y'all out to eat.
Okay. That's it. We're gonna sign out of Lafayette at 11:26.
All right.
Yeah, have a good day.
So I don't have any information to share on this. There's nothing in the spreadsheet. It seems that he alluded to having a DUI and getting 5 years. We know from experience that to get 5 years, it means that it probably was his third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh offense is what we've seen. We don't know what it was for him. Just taking a guess based off of what we've seen. But hey, to his credit, he doesn't have. I mean, it seems that he got locked up because parole violations in those ways, but that's, I think, the least severe type of violation to have. And I mean, what can you say? Now, if you've realized how Mr. Barros was like the authority figure there, and that's because he, like Mr. Pete Freeman, was a senior member of running the parole parole officers. I don't know what the title is. I can look it up, but he's was there for like 25 years or something. So he is the resident expert when Pete Freeman's not there. I don't know who's higher ranked either. I know Pete Freeman's, I think, official title was director. But anyways, I digress. He is, whenever in these parole revocation hearings or any hearing, when they start talking about the parole officers or them not doing their job or giving, and Mr. Pete Freeman or Barros are on the board, just keep in mind that those guys, that's what they have done for their pretty much entire professional life. So you're not going to get one by them. Anyways, I don't know what else there is to say. The other thing, that he had to pay the extradition fee of $3,940. I am pretty certain that is the first time we have ever seen that in Louisiana. Utah hearings, which we cover on Channel 2, Mandu 2, if you're not familiar, links in the description. That's just baked in. They're always mentioning that that fee has to be reimbursed. This is the first time that we've heard that. I don't know if it's a new thing because it's a new administration and they're going to get tight on that, or if it's just this specific case they felt that he could afford it. I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say yes. I mean, he has his average monthly income listed around $10,000. So maybe it could be they just said, okay, you could afford it, so you're going to pay it. And man, I mean, can you think about that? You're doing well, you're working, you're making money, and then all of a sudden you're cuffed and you're sitting in a jail cell. And I don't know how long he's been sitting in that cell waiting for a hearing. We have seen where sometimes it can take months. And we've been seeing a long delay because last year, near the end of the year, with the administration change and trying to get all of the commutation hearings for death row commutations through, a lot of the schedule were postponed. We have a spreadsheet of it that Richard made. So we see all the hearings that were pushed down the road 3, 4, 5, 6 months. But anyways, it could be that they even mentioned the date that he was locked up and I wasn't paying attention. It's hard to do all of these. We're going to do one more revocation hearing before we go on. So with that, let's jump in.
So based on that, you're not eligible for a lawyer, an appointed counsel today. You ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to read the allegations against you, after which you'll enter a plea of guilty or not guilty, and then we'll have a conversation about it, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me acknowledge, no, let's see, I don't have any guests today, so we'll just jump right in. You are alleged to have violated the conditions of your parole, specifically condition number 4, and it states, you failed to refrain from criminal activity by evidence of your arrest. On April 10th, 2024, the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office arrested you for 1 traffic municipal failure to appear warrant, domestic abuse battery with child endangerment, and simple criminal damage to property. It is noted that the Jefferson Parish District Attorney's Office refused those charges on May 21st, 2024. So how do you plead to violating condition number 4?
Not guilty.
Right, then we have condition number 6. You failed to work at a job approved by your parole officer by evidence of your unemployment status. How do you plead to violating number 6?
Guilty.
And then we have number 10. You failed to pay monthly supervision fees by evidence of your arrears of $380. How do you plead to violating number 10?
Guilty.
All right. So, Mr. Morgan, I'm going to start out with the interview because your case was assigned to me. And so you pled not guilty to violating condition number 4. Why don't you tell us what happened that day?
Nothing. My female friend of mine accused me of hitting her, which she stored on me and called the police on me.
Why would she story on you?
for no apparent reason, because I was dealing with another female and she went through my phone and got mad.
All right. Did you, bust out the window in the house?
No, ma'am.
How did it get broken?
The window must have was broken before I knocked on the door. I never went to the window.
And her claims that you were mad at her because she had went out that night.
No,
That's
ma'am, not at all.
So none of what she said to the police on video was accurate.
No, ma'am.
And she asked you to leave, and that's when you became violent.
No, ma'am, I never got violent with her at all. I never got violent with her at all.
So what happened?
We got into an argument and she got mad with me and called the police. That's it. Over a female over the phone.
How did she have bruising on her face?
I don't know how she get bruising on her face. I never hit her in her face. I never saw any bruising on her face.
Is this Cassandra Washington that we're
Yes,
talking?
ma'am.
What's your
Yes, ma'am.
relationship with her now?
That's my child mother.
Well, what is your relation with, other than the sharing a child together? Are y'all involved in a relationship?
Not at the moment.
What's that mean?
No, we are not.
All right. All right, well, I don't know. We have some evidence in the record that disputes your story. So and we have video of her testimony. So I'm going to just sit back and listen to my colleagues if they have any questions of you.
Yes, ma'am.
No, I don't have any questions. I've watched the video.
Mrs. Stapleton?
Yes, me too. I watched the video and you slapping her in the face and things like that, and the window broken out in the bag, that all rings true. And also, you need to know that you have a stay away order from Miss Washington when you do get out. There is a stay away order that they issue because of domestic abuse arrest, okay? So that you don't
Yes,
violate
ma'am.
that, get in trouble with that. So I'm finished.
Okay. All right, Mr. Morgan, I think we're ready to vote. We have no more questions, and I'll go first. Your case is assigned to me, so I'm going to vote. My vote, based on the evidence that we have in the record, the testimony by Ms. Washington, and the video that was provided by the police department, my vote today is to revoke your parole.
She also stated that I did not hit her. She told my
Ms.
parole officer.
Myra is to be voting.
I'm going to concur with Ms. Renata for the same reasons based on the video.
Mrs. Stapleton.
And I concur with Ms. Renata, based on the video.
All right, Mr. Morgan, today your parole is being revoked. And that concludes our business there.
It would be funny if it wasn't so sad that, yes, he hit a woman. He thinks that because the DA drops the charges and the woman recants, that it's just going to completely make that, that recording of him doing it disappear. Man, I mean, for real, what like we have seen many different types of approaches to parole revocation hearing, but trying to wish away camera footage of it is that's a first. Wow. I wonder how well he had thought that went through. And it was a quick denial. Now, with regards to how much time he's backing, I don't know, but it is interesting. This case, and thank you, Richard, for the info. He was prosecuted or caught when he was just 20 years old in a sting operation with the local Louisiana police and the FBI. I mean, at 20 years old, to have the FBI arrest you for dealing, I don't know why they thought they deemed him to be a worthy target of the FBI, how that works, but it happened. And so Devin Morgan, aka DeBlack, age 20, resident in New Orleans, pled guilty in U.S. District Court to a one-count charge for conspiracy to distribute a quantity of heroin. I don't want to like say it that I don't know. I just said it kind of weird, but I think called the Magic Dragon or something. I don't know. Announced by the U.S. Attorney Jim Letton. According to the court documents from April of 2012 through May 2014, through May 14, 2012, Morgan conspired with other individuals to distribute a quantity of this narcotic. He was arrested by New Orleans Police Department and questioned by the Federal Bureau of Investigations of the 5th District Court. Why is the FBI involved in this? Morgan is due to be sentenced by the judge, faces a maximum term of 20 years, or twice the gross loss to any victim, or twice the gross gain to any defendant. Oh, that's the money? A fine? Okay, not less than 3 years of supervised release following the term of imprisonment. The case was investigated by the New Orleans Police Department and the FBI and is being prosecuted by the Assistant U.S. Attorney. So he did federal time, I'm guessing. I don't know. But then your parole would be local to the state you're in? Maybe I have no idea, but it is interesting to me that the FBI would pursue this case. But there you have it. I don't know. This was all the way in 2012 and he was revoked. So he might, maybe he got a pretty long sentence. But, when you're on parole, don't do that stuff. And the DAs, if you wonder why the DAs drop the charges, they drop it because they know that they're going to get revoked. So they don't have to go to court. They don't have to, it's one thing they can just get off of their queue, so to speak, and let the parole board revoke them. But many, we see over and over and over and over again that people up for revocation don't understand that having the DA drop the charges doesn't really help. And we also often see attorneys recommending to their clients that, don't worry, just take a misdemeanor charge, you'll be okay. That's also not true. You sign in a parole agreement that you will not be involved in any criminal activity, and involved is a vague word on purpose. You're pretty screwed. If the parole board wants to revoke you, they have the legal authority to do so. And we saw here where they chose to and chose not to. I think making the right decisions in each case. What do you think? And with that, I'll let you go.